Hey everybody, I'm Larry Little.
And I'm Melissa Jackson.
Thank you for listening to our Crossing the Line podcast, a podcast where we talk with people about the moments in their life when they cross that line from leading with their head to leading with their heart, and then from leading with their heart to leading with their head. This is a podcast about relationships.
I love it, Larry. And today we're going to talk about leading and watching from your heart, because we have a special day today where we want to look at fathers and the impact that they have in their families' lives.
Yeah, we wanted to be able to do that in a unique way. It was really cool, I think, when we got to hear from our moms and we had that phone call. And so we were talking about that and what could we do. And so we decided that let's do something different. Let's go on location, and we decided that we would go over to where my father lived. I call him Pops, and where Pops and Mom live, and we would do a podcast there at his at their dinner table, and he and I just sharing a cup of coffee.
And as we do this, I want us to be mindful of a key word here that keeps coming back to my mind, and that is legacy. And the importance of investments in their fathers and their children, even when they're doing that day in and day out, and things get so fast and furious in different seasons of their life. But being mindful that those investments create something unique over the lifetime of that family's life and those children, and that's called legacy. And it's important that we be intentional and invest.
Yeah, I was really... Honestly, I was a little shocked when I was listening to Pops tell the stories about the link that I saw, about the pattern, the legacy that started before him and with his dad. So it was really interesting, and I think really pertinent for all of us to remember and to think about that investment that we're living right now, what we're doing. And that interview that we did with him, I think, really shows that. So I'm excited to release that. I'm excited for all of us to go back and listen to that and watch that. He's 84 years old. He he loves to have fun. He loves to laugh. He enjoys life. And we had a lot of fun sharing together and having coffee together. So let's go over to Frank and Linda's house, and let's sit at the dining room table with Frank and have a cup of coffee.
Let's do it.
Now, Pops, we're talking about Father's Day.
Yeah.
And you and I want to have just want to hear from you and want to hear about your thoughts on Father's Day. There are a lot of people that who've lost their father. There are some people who maybe are estranged from their father. Some people are not. Some people will celebrate with their father on Father's Day. But regardless, Father's Day is important. Fathers are important. They impact our lives positively and negatively, right? But we wanted just to hear from you because you're a young 84, is that right? 84. Yeah. And I just want to hear from some of your wisdom. You lived a good long time, and you've learned an awful lot of things, and you grew up in a time when it's very different than what we are experiencing today. It's a whole different life, a whole different world. So how many brothers and sisters did you, do you know how many brothers and sisters you had? It was like you're the baby, right? And what was there, 9, 10?
10. 7 boys and 3 girls.
7 boys and 3 girls, and you were the baby.
Right.
And so being the baby, and before we get to your dad, being the baby, were you spoiled?
Yeah.
You didn't even check up on that.
Yeah, I really was. Yeah, they spoiled me.
Did they?
Yeah. Even the 2 brothers older than I am, boy, they watch after me. They take care of me, and I take advantage of it.
You took advantage of it. So your dad, Bill.
Yeah.
And what did he do? What was his?
He was a well driller.
And so back in the day, people had to drill for water, to drinking water, right?
Oh, yeah.
And didn't he just went across the county drilling wells?
Yeah, just about all the counties did, but Lawrence, Morgan, Limestone, and even Huntsville.
And that's the way he made a living.
You're right.
What did he do when people couldn't pay with money?
Oh, goodness. Back then, people didn't have much money. It was a little money, but not much. But anyway, he would give them credit, And a lot of times he had to go buy them a rope, and he'd set up the so they could draw water out of the well. He put casing in there, you know. He'd go buy the casing, you know. And I was there seeing all this, you know. And he did that, and he was a real friendly person, and everybody liked to be around him because he cared a lot.
He had a lot of fun. We see. That's where you get it.
Yeah.
Probably where I get it.
He was. He was just, you know, he just loved to be around people and tell stories and fun. And he wore a little hat on him, his head, you know, and they went out one day. He was telling everything. They cut the brim of it off. But he laughed about it, you know. But he was a good communicator with people, and people would like him, you know. And a lot of times he would have to charge at this grocery store I'm talking about, this gas, you know, for the machine, and well machine and everything, you know, until he did get some money.
Yeah. So he was known for, he would give to people, is what you're saying. He would help people, and if they didn't have money, he would let them charge. And, and he had this legacy of giving even in your early years.
He would get groceries. He'd real well for people who had a grocery store. And he'd get groceries. He would trade for, he'd take a car on a trade-in. He would take cows, pigs, anything he could get. And I remember he took a bunch of little pigs. And so his brother-in-law was his name, Homer. That was his brother-in-law. Okay? And they had one of those pigs that was called a runt.
All right.
So he wouldn't go, he decided he would slip over there in Uncle Homer's pen and put that runt in there. He'd just give it to him and not tell him nothing about it, where it come from.
You just put it in the pen.
He slipped it in there. And it was that runt, you know. Runt is one that, you know, not growing too good. So Uncle Homer, he took that pig, he fed it and took care of it, got a big pig. And they killed it, you know, and he gave Daddy some of the meat.
Did he? It worked out pretty well for him, didn't it?
Yeah, he did stuff like that. I can remember him getting scales, like you weigh stuff on. He took scales, you know, like he'd take a horse, he'd take a cow, he'd take a car, he'd take land, anything he could get.
What was your relationship like with him, with your dad? Being the youngest of 10, what was your relationship like? You remember?
Yeah, it was good. He really loved me. He was real affectionate daddy. He really was. Sometimes we were like doorsteps, the last group of the family. And he had myself and Bobby and Buck, that's three of us, and I'm the baby. We were kind of like doorsteps in these. And we would sit in his lap, three of us.
Really?
Yeah. I love all of us right there. Out in the yards, and we'd be standing in the chair, and we'd be sitting up there in his chair. And he was, we loved our daddy. We'd like to go places, you know. And one time, we all three hid in the trunk. And he got down the road and he heard us.
In the trunk?
Yeah. I probably didn't get far. He probably wanted us to walk back. But he was always having fun. He would have fun with people, you know. He would.
Now, parenting back then is not what it is today, is it? In fact, you had a parenting moment with your dad when you and Bobby, I think, got to scuffling in the bed. Y'all shared the bed together.
That's right.
A lot of kids, not a lot of money.
Had a fireplace in there.
And had a fireplace, and what happened?
Well, this was a shotgun house, if you know what that is. Shoot all the way through it and not hit nobody. It's one of them old homes, you know. So I'm living down in that front room, which is a big room we were. And Daddy and Mama was sitting by the fireplace. So we were sitting there, and we were hitting each other and doing something. And Daddy, he drank a little long, you know. He probably had a little bit to drink too, you know. And we was come on hitting each other, you know, and he's sitting there. We would always keep a big rock, somebody done in front of the fireplace. I don't think it's one old Google Mama. He took that rock. He said, "Bobby, you get over here Frank, you get over here. And he put that rock between us.
From the fireplace,
Yeah.
big rock in the
Yeah.
middle of the bed.
Yeah. He said, you stay over there, and you stay over here. So,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it.
And he was something else. He loved us boys, so he really did. And he loved the girls too. But he was a mess. I never will forget. He drilled wells, and he had a 1.5-ton truck. And he came in there and come in the house. And Mama knew that he had been drinking some. That's what Mama would say. She told me I was a kid. She said, you go out there and see if you can find it. If she could find it, she'd pour it out.
Pour out the alcohol. She told you to see if you could go find his alcohol.
Yeah. And I got out there and I got to smell it, I could smell it, but I couldn't find it. But back then, it was an international truck. Back then, you had a little panel on the door for some reason. It had screws in it,
Yeah.
And Daddy had took it out and put it down in the door and put the screws back on it. But for some reason, being a kid, like I said, I think I need to be in that door. I took those screws out.
Did you really?
Yeah. And I reached down in there. I think it was a fifth, they call it or something.
Yeah.
And I cut it and gave it to Mom. But anyway, I don't know what she did. It's been years ago. But anyway, he even though all that, and we would drill wells. And it come dinner time, he would shut off the machine. I always wanted to go with them. I didn't want to stay at home with Mama. Sometimes I would, but I didn't want to. I want to go be with Daddy and the boys. Well, we'd go in and we'd sit down at the table, and Daddy would always eat with them because he said that showed good friendships. And I remember my older Brooks said, "Daddy, I eat anywhere." I didn't care what I was, I said,
Right.
So and Bobby and Buck was a little sensitive, but Daddy made him go in and eat.
Y'all all ate together.
Yeah.
So
We didn't ever would go with them because back then people were different. It hurt your feelings.
eating. So you would go eat with people that you were drilling wells for.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So you guys, the whole crew that were drilling, your dad and brothers, y'all would go in and eat with these people because that was showing kindness.
Yeah, it's good. And Daddy knew that, so and of course I didn't care. I'd eat anywhere.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he knew that was showing
Yeah.
gratitude, showing kindness to these people, and respecting them to sit at their table and eat with them. That was the deal. Wow.
Yeah.
What is one thing, Dad, you think about him, and if you think about something you learned from him, what was something he? And I know we'll qualify this by saying he passed away when you were young. You were 16 when he died. Mm-hmm. But what is, as you remember, as a young man, what is something you carry with you that you got from your dad? Some kind of
I would say it was love. Mm-hmm. He had seemed like love in his hands. Now he could be strict. Now he could, he could whip you too, and I can remember that.
That was back when they gave whippings, right?
Right.
Back in the day.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And he would tell you I would respect him, but he, being the baby, he would let me off with a lot of things that he didn't let the others. I know he did, but anyway, they had his brother-in-law to come over. People back then visited a lot, mm-hmm. and his brother-in-law would come over, and it was his sister, and they'd come over a lot, and Daddy and them would visit, and Daddy'd go in that room across where big old wide room. You go through there, doors with nothing, you just shoot through it, But he'd go in that room there, and they'd go in there, and when he got there, he told all us kids, he said, "Now we're going in here." He said, "I want you kids not to be coming in here. Me and Lois, we're going to talk."
And Lois was
Daddy's brother-in-law.
His brother-in-law, okay.
Yeah, it was his sister.
Okay.
And he said, "Y'all just go and play now. Don't come in here and disturb us. We go be on time." Okay. Well, me and mischievous like I was, I opened the door and kind of run in there, and I turned around and looked, and I said, "Who pushed me in here?" And And Daddy looked over at his brother-in-law and said, "What do I do, Lawrence? What do I do?"
He knew he had something he didn't know what to do with.
Yeah. He said, "What do I do, Lawrence? What do I do?"
I love it.
Well,
But he taught you love. You
Yeah.
took that. He was affectionate to you.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and he taught you love. And you brought that into your life. You brought that into
Yeah.
your relationship with Mom and then with your children. And you have two children, me and my younger sister, Kim. And love has always been an important part of your
Yes, it is.
parenting, hasn't it?
It is. Even in the Bible, chapter 13 in Corinthians is the love chapter. You know, if I read it one time, it seems like I read it 1,000. I see so much truth in how it is to do, and love is something that never fails. And I found that to be true. And I mean, I just push on that because I know it's true.
Right.
I see it's being true. It'll win over everything else. And I love it. I love it.
You read that chapter a lot to us growing up and taught us about that.
I read it just about every morning for years and years. And I like that scripture. And I have read through the Bible too, but that's my scripture.
I love it. And you applied that to Kim and to me. Now, as a father, we're very different. Kim's very different personality than me, right? So you had to parent us differently, but you parented with love.
Right. And even though, since you mentioned it, you know, Kim even told me, she said, even under those, she just volunteered for me and hers together. She said, things were going a little bit bad, you know, with thinking in her situation. You know, we were talking, or she was doing the talking. She said, "Daddy, I never believed that you did not love me under all those circumstances."
I love it.
She just volunteered it out of the sky. Said, "I knew that your mother always loved me."
Well, she knew it. And here, let me just say this, because she'll probably listen or watch this. And she, just like you were the spoiled one, she was the spoiled one. Y'all spoiled her. She got everything that she wanted, and she knows she did. So Kim, if you're listening, we're just saying it out loud. You're spoiled. So, but we grew up in a family of love, and you read that scripture to us a lot growing up. What is the story you remember about me growing up that kind of sticks in your mind when I was a child? Do you have one?
Yeah, I really do. When he was growing up, you know, it was many years ago, and when he got the age of 16, well, I got him a car. And this car, I didn't get him a real, you know, expensive car off the car lot. I was in business, you know. But we found this car, I think an individual had it or something. I bought it, and it was an old car. And the floorboard was, you could see the ground. But he would drive it, he was proud of it.
I thought it was great. Hey, I got my pants. Water would splash when it rained. I had to be careful because water would splash up through the floorboard and get my pants all wet. It was a little straight stick.
Yeah.
We called it the Donald Duck car.
Yeah, I know.
I loved it. I thought I was excited because I knew that my alternative was to walk.
Yeah, yeah. And I used to get this real big kick out of Larry. He was, I don't know how old he was, maybe 2 years old or something. And we would play doctor. I'd be in the bed, Melinda would be up doing something, you know. I don't know what she's doing, but she was still up. He would lay on my stomach, it's a baby, and we would play doctor. I'd go all around him with my finger like I was doctoring him and checking him, you know. And I'd get up here to his, we call it
Belly button.
belly button. I'd say, "Now, Larry, what is this here?" He'd say, "Belly button." And he'd just laugh. Laugh crazy. We'd always laugh, you know,
Yeah.
when we did that. But we had a lot of fun, and he got up older, you know, when he's in school and in college. He worked with me in the business. And I would tell you this, he was real good for the business. And what I liked about it, he took the young people, because he was good with young people. And I'd take the older people. Well, he'd be the thing. I said, if I wasn't there, he'd say, he could handle older people too. It's amazing how he could do. And I think he started talking when he was a day old. I don't know.
You're probably right, Paul.
Yeah, but he would take, but he could handle it with old or young. But he was super good with young people. He had a lot of people coming in, but he could handle old people. But that would always amaze me, that how he could do that. And he did real good too. And I told him one time, he was still young and silly, and I come back and he told me about this customer he had. And I said everything. I said, okay. I said, Larry, this is what I want you to do. He's real young. I said, I want you to go call this person. And I said, I want you to talk to him and tell him you want him to come back. Mm-hmm. And I told him what all to say. He was young, and everything to do with him and everything. He called him back, and they come. He told him, I guess, everything I told him, and he sold the car.
Hey, I could take coaching, couldn't I?
Yeah.
I could take coaching.
Yes,
that's
he could.
something
And
else.
listen, he listened well. I have to honestly say this. He listened well. He really was unusual far as behavior. You tell him something, and he would do it. He would really apply it, and it made him money.
It did.
Because I had years of experience in it, but he did that, and it would work.
Yeah.
But
I remember too thinking about your dad and the legacy that he had of love and giving, and you always demonstrated that. You and Mom you were so good about giving, even when we didn't have much. I remember times when we didn't have not much at all, but you were giving to others who had less. You were always looking, whether it's groceries, whatever we had. I've watched you do that, and you're still doing that to this day. You still love to give. I remember you were so affectionate, and we'd have to read that 1 Corinthians 13 like every day. But I also remember as a teenager, it didn't matter how old I was. I was 14, 15. He said, come here, son, give me a kiss before you leave. And we still do that to this day. That affection that you demonstrated.
Yeah.
You did a beautiful job of that. Carrying on that legacy of love from your dad, carrying it down to and teaching us about loving people. That was, if I had to say a theme, you taught us to love people. Mm-hmm. That's what you really hung your hat on that and ingrained that into your mm-hmm. children and it even today with Kim and with myself, we love people mm-hmm. and we live our life to do that and that's because of your legacy, because of and then it goes back. It's so interesting that your dad had that he passed that to you and you passed that legacy to us. That's right. Beautiful. I think that's just amazing.
He did.
So Dad, if you could go back and that legacy of your dad and what he left with you and what you've carried forward, but if you could go back and tell your dad, if he were here today, you could tell him something, what would one thing be that you would tell your dad?
That he had a lot of love in his hands and his body and with his children, and he loved us, and I could see that. I could see him. A lot of times people would be leaving, and him and Mom would be outside, and they would be hugging each other, kissing each other. He was real, and you have people that you can tell sometimes if they're real or not. Mm. But he was real because the way he loved Mama and the way he loved us kids. Mm. He was a sweet, affectionate daddy, and he showed that in his life, and I really remember that, and that sticks to me too. He was a loving daddy, and we all loved him.
I know.
And we just...
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for this time. You passed that love to us, and what a gift and treasure you are. So thank you for that.
Oh, yes.
And thank you for spending time talking to me, telling me these stories so we could get them and capture them. And we'll look forward to putting this podcast out and talking about Father's Day, and it's going to be good. So thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right.
I'm glad to.
So, Larry, that was so much fun. And there's some outtakes that are even more fun that we got.
You were videoing like when we were just hanging out.
That's the best pieces, the part where nobody knows that they're being recorded. So I love that.
I will tell you, that's just how it's how we roll most of the time. We just like to laugh. We like
just
to
have
humor.
I can see that.
Just have fun.
That's part of your relationship, part of that connection.
Really, and, like he said, his dad loved to have fun, and some of the antics that he would pull, and Dad liked to have fun. And I know this surprises you, but I like to have fun.
And I can continue to see your son likes to have fun.
He does.
There's just this legacy that just keeps going.
Landon loves to have fun. He does. That's good. That's good. That was a lot of fun. It was neat to do that. And really interesting to think about the takeaways. What I saw as I was listening to stories. Now these stories, you guys got to know, these are legacy stories. We've heard these stories through our years, and Dad loves to, he loves to tell them, and that's good for him at 84 and to process that and to hear. But he tells them and enjoys telling them. But we love hearing them, even if we've heard them, forever. We always laugh and have a great time. But Melissa, this time, as he was going through that, I was thinking about this podcast, of course, and thinking about what we're doing here as we celebrate Father's Day. But there's a pattern there. There's a pattern there from his dad to him to me, and then down to my son. And I think that pattern I found was that his dad loved people, loved to give. There was a giving heart.
He talked about that.
That I saw in my dad growing up. Now we didn't necessarily have a lot growing up. No, we didn't have a lot growing up. But he always gave. And then I saw that his dad did that. It's my heart to do that, and I want to pass that on to my children, both my daughter and my son. And that is it was just amazing though to see back then. That's when that legacy really started.
And legacy is about making that investment at the time for the future. You don't really see your legacy when it's going on, when you're doing that day in and day out. And so it's not till a different season can you really look and see, over this time, this investment did this. This is what it produced.
So right. You're so right. And I guess the question is, how do we live our legacy? How do we live that legacy? And so, we would be remiss if we didn't give our listeners a takeaway here, right? I mean, we enjoyed being with Pops, and that was awesome, but what can we take away? How can we live that legacy? We know it's there. We're in the season of life. I can look back, and I can kind of look to my own son, and I can look back at Dad and his dad and see how do we live that legacy though, to make sure we don't miss it. And I think there are three things. I think we have to aim in the right direction.
And that's a great point when you're saying aim, because in relationships, you might not ever hit the mark. The mark moves.
That's good.
Part of the relationship is moving with the relationship and figuring out what that person needs and how to help them, where they are. And so give us some good thoughts.
You just said that really beautifully, because relationships change. If a relationship is stagnant, it's not living. It's dead. It's not growing. It's not shifting. It's not changing. So we have to aim and continue to aim. And aim stands for, first we have to be aware. And we have to be aware because relationships change and things change, and we have to be aware of, where are we in this season of life? Where are we in this relationship? Be aware of, what does that person, what do they need? And we'll stop here and say that this is not just about fathers, biological fathers investing in children. It can be someone that's been an influence in your life, that has influence in your life. We're talking about fathers, but a father is not the only one that lives their legacy. We all do, but to have these people that speak into our life, that are important to us, but to realize that we have to be aware of that. I have to be aware that people are watching me, and that I have an influence. And I have to ask myself, I have to be aware of, okay, who am I influencing? Who is in my circle of influence, right? Who is that? And we all have somebody. It doesn't matter. We all have someone that's watching us. So we have to be aware. That's the first thing. I think next is the I. And that means once we're aware, if I'm just aware, Melissa, I'm not doing anything. I'm just aware. That's great. I'm aware that, this is going on and absolutely nothing's being done. And so the I means we have to invest. This is the action word. Invest is an action word. So if we're aware, we have to get to where they are. We have to invest. We have to do something with that awareness. We have to say, now I'm going to put feet to what I know, and I'm going to invest in that person.
And you're investing, not having a return. You're investing, banking on the fact that one day what I'm doing and the consistency that I'm giving or providing is going to pay off in some way. It's going to produce something.
That's 100% right. It's not instant gratification, right? It's not investing today and seeing tomorrow. It's choosing to invest because we know that investing takes time, and choosing to allow that time to work. So we're not investing for an instant return. We're not investing for that. We're investing for the future. We're investing for the long haul. Why? Well, that's the M. Why are we doing this? Because it matters. Relationships matter. Those that we influence, it truly matters. And we're tempted to get so caught up. And I know, man, I'm guilty of this. So many things going on, right, in our lives. And I'm just like, pulled in so many directions. But if we stop and think about, whoa, what are the top 3 things that are important to us? I guarantee you our relationships will be in those top 3. If that's the case, then we need to realize the importance of investing, the importance of being aware, and never stop, because it's not a one-time, let's do it. Well, I did it one time, Nope. It's figuring out what these people in this relationship need, and because it matters, continuing to do it over and over and over again.
That's right. And you may be the one to change the script. Let's say everybody doesn't have great relationships with their father. Some people don't even know their father. So they get to decide, do they change that script, and what does it need to look like? Because what they're doing matters for who they're going to invest in. So it is important to ask yourself that question. Why does it matter? It does matter because guess what? I get an opportunity to do something different. I get an opportunity to live in the legacy, and I get an opportunity to change the script a little bit.
I love that thought, because there are people who do have that difficult, estranged, maybe even dysfunctional, maybe they don't even know. And that awareness piece, if you go back, so how does this work? How does AIM work with that? Well, I'm aware that I want to break that cycle of dysfunction. I've got a friend who had a rough relationship with his dad. He and his brother had a rough relationship with their mom, and it was just tough. And he's a grown man now. He and his brother got together, and they decided that they would break the chain of dysfunction. That they would start new links. That they would begin. There were 2 links. They would start a new link in their relationship, in their life, and they didn't have to live. They were aware of where they'd been. They didn't want. So they started investing in their family and in their relationships very differently. And they actually, one of them bought a boat, and they named it 2 Links. And they named that boat to be a tangible reminder of their investment, and they're investing in a different way because it matters. They're breaking the chain of dysfunction, investing in a different way because it's so important to them to lead their families differently.
So legacy.
Cool.
Legacy is so important. We got to remember, we got to be thankful for what we have, the relationships we have, but then also we got to think about the future and make sure we're choosing to create the story that we want to create.
That's exactly right. We get to choose where to aim. We get to choose how to live our legacy. And when we choose that, that's when we truly make a difference. So now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast.
Let's do it.
Are you ready, guys? This is
ready.
Father's Day, after all, and I end every podcast by telling a dad joke. So I want to tell you a dad joke, and are you ready?
Ready.
All right. Why did the ghost go to a bar?
Why did the ghost go to a bar? I have no idea.
He wanted some booze.
He sure did.
I love it. Yes, he did. Hey, thank you so much for hanging out with us and being a part of our podcast, Crossing the Line. We hope that you have taken away something that can help you in your relationships, and to all the fathers out there and those who have influenced others in their life, happy Father's Day. We look forward to seeing you next time on Crossing the Line. Remember, you can make a difference in the lives of those you love, live with, and lead.